Thank you for listening. We really appreciate you spending your time with us. Your support helps this podcast grow and keeps us motivated to bring you meaningful conversations. If you enjoyed the episode, don't forget to leave a review, share it with a friend, or give us a thumbs up. Thanks for being part of our journey, and we'll see you next time.
Hey everyone, ready to get inside people's heads a little bit? Today we're gonna deep dive into transactional analysis.
TA?
Yeah, TA for short. Basically it's gonna help us understand what's really going on under the surface when people are talking to each other.
Yeah, it's like having X-ray vision, but for relationships.
Exactly. And we've got some pretty interesting sources for this deep dive. There's this Dutch textbook that actually uses TA in the workplace, which is fascinating. And we've also got, get this, an actual interview transcript with Eric Bernet.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. You know, the psychiatrist who invented TA.
To man himself.
Yeah, and to round things out, we're also using his Wikipedia page for background and stuff. By the end of this, you'll be seeing these TA patterns everywhere you look.
Oh, for sure. Like in the supermarket, on the bus, at work.
Totally. So, okay, first things first. Who was this Eric Bernet guy? And what made him come up with this whole transactional analysis thing?
Well, so Bernet, he was a psychiatrist, but he kind of wanted to shake things up a bit, He thought the traditional way of doing psychoanalysis, the Freudian stuff, it was a bit too focused on the unconscious mind. Not really practical for understanding how people actually interact, day to day.
So instead of digging into all those deep, dark secrets of the mind, he decided to focus on what we could actually observe.
Exactly. He called these interactions transactions.
Okay.
And his approach, it really seemed to strike a chord with people. His book, Games People Play, became a massive bestseller.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that one. Why do you think it was so popular?
Well, maybe because he used really relatable, even kind of catchy titles for these patterns, the ways people interact.
Oh, I got to hear some of these titles. Give me the juicy stuff.
All right. One of them is called Now I've Got You, You Son of a Bitch. Not exactly clinical language.
Ha ha ha. Wow. Yeah, that's definitely going to grab your attention. It does show that he, wanted to make this stuff accessible.
Right.
To regular people, not just, academics in their ivory towers.
Right.
So, okay, he ditched the whole deep dive into the unconscious, focused on these transactions instead. But what are these ego states he keeps talking about?
Okay, so imagine this. We all have these different points of ourselves, and we switch between them all the time, like different characters we play. Bruno called these parts ego states. And they're not about your actual age, but rather the state of mind you're in at any given moment.
So it's different modes of operating, and he breaks it down into parent, adult, and child. But these aren't literal parents and children.
No, not at all.
Okay.
Think of them more like psychological hats that we wear.
Okay, I like that.
So the parent state, that's all about the things we learn from our parents or other authority figures growing up, The rules, the beliefs, the attitudes.
That voice in our head that's a little bit too much like our mom sometimes.
Exactly. And then there's the adult state, which is our rational, problem-solving self. The part of us that thinks logically and makes decisions based on facts, not feelings.
Okay, yeah, the calm and collected one.
Right. And then, of course, there's the child state.
Ooh, everyone's favorite.
This one is all about our emotions and impulses from childhood. It's the part of us that still feels joy and sadness and anger and excitement, all that good stuff. The inner child that lives inside all of us.
I like how that Dutch textbook uses examples of mechanics and their team leaders to illustrate these states.
Oh, yeah, those are good ones.
Can you give me a few?
Yeah, so they talk about this team leader who gives really harsh feedback. The kind that makes you just want to shut down.
Yeah.
That's the critical parent in action.
Yeah, that my way or the highway type.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But they also give the flip side, where the team leader is super supportive and encouraging and helps the mechanic actually succeed. That's the nurturing parent.
Okay, yeah.
The one who believes in you.
Nice. What about some child ego state examples?
Let's see. They talk about this mechanic who's always following the rules but never feels like they can speak their mind or, share their ideas. That's the adapted child.
Kind of holding back, afraid to rock the boat.
Yeah. And then they contrast that with the free child who is super into their work and really playful, but maybe pushes boundaries a little too far sometimes.
Yeah, that creative spark, but needs a little guidance.
Right.
Interesting.
And then, sometimes things get messy, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like our thinking gets muddled by past experiences and our biases,
Yeah. Yeah.
But Brene called this contamination. It's like our ego states get all tangled up.
Okay, so contamination, can you give me an example of that? Like, I'm not sure I'm totally getting it.
Sure. So imagine your inner critic, that critical parent voice, starts pretending to be your rational adult voice, telling you you're not good enough or whatever,
Oh, that's sneaky.
right? Or maybe you react to something with a lot of fear or anger, but you think you're being perfectly logical. Contamination can really mess with how we communicate.
Oh, yeah, I can see that.
Big time.
So, okay, we've got these ego states, the parent, adult, and child, and they can get like all mixed up sometimes.
Yeah.
But how do they actually, show up in our like conversations with other people?
That's where transactions come in.
Okay,
Those, back and forth exchanges, the way we communicate with each other.
right.
And remember, it's not just the words themselves, it's also our tone of voice,
Oh, yeah.
our body language. Even just a look can be a transaction.
So it's like, okay, if atoms are the building blocks of matter, transactions are the building blocks of communication.
Exactly.
Interesting. So how do these ego states, how do they like influence the way we transact with each other?
Well, Bert, he identified three main types of transactions:
Mm.
complementary, crossed, and ulterior.
Hmm.
Let's start with the smooth operator, the complementary transactions.
Okay.
These are like a well-choreographed dance, where the ego states of the two people talking they're in sync.
Okay, can you give me an example of a complementary transaction?
Sure, sure. So imagine you're asking me a question, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're coming from your adult state, just looking for information.
Okay.
And I respond from my adult state with a clear, factual answer. The communication is smooth because our ego states are aligned.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Or like a kid asks their parent for a cookie, right?
Yeah.
From their child ego state, and the parent answers with, a simple yes or no from their parent ego state.
Exactly. The communication lines are clear and the interaction, it just flows naturally.
Right.
But then what happens when things get a little bumpy?
Oh.
That's where those cross transactions come in.
Okay, cross transactions, that's where the communication breaks down. What
Yeah.
causes that?
So in a cross transaction, the ego states, they clash.
Yeah.
They don't line up. It's like trying to fit two puzzle pieces together that, just don't match.
I can see how that would be frustrating
Yeah,
misunderstanding.
for sure. So think about that kid asking for a cookie again.
Okay.
But this time, instead of a simple yes or no, the parent launches into a lecture about healthy eating habits.
Oh, from their adult state.
Right.
And the kid throws a tantrum because they're stuck in their child ego state.
Exactly. And suddenly the communication's a mess. Conflict is brewing.
Yeah.
And the textbook you shared
Mm-hmm.
has a great example of this in the workplace.
Oh, tell me.
A mechanic asks their team leader for some clarification,
Oh, yeah.
from their adult state.
Mm.
But the team leader responds all condescending from their critical parent ego state.
Ouch.
Yeah, really puts the mechanic down.
Yeah, it's gotta hurt.
It can create a lot of tension, these cross transactions, in any relationship.
Yeah, for sure.
But it gets even more interesting when you consider that people sometimes communicate with hidden agendas.
Ooh, tell me more.
These are what Boren called ulterior transactions.
Okay.
So what's being said on the surface, it doesn't actually match what the person's really trying to do. It's like there's this whole other conversation happening beneath the words.
Ooh, sneaky. Can you give me an example so I can understand this better?
All right. Imagine a coworker sighing dramatically and saying, "Ugh, I'm so overwhelmed. I don't know how I'll ever get all this work done."
Okay.
On the surface, it sounds like they're just venting.
Yeah, right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like a child ego state thing.
Right, but maybe there's a hidden adult agenda going on.
Like they're hoping you'll offer to help them with their work.
Exactly. They're playing a game trying to manipulate you into rescuing them.
Wow.
These ulterior transactions, they can be hard to spot because they're not always obvious.
Right.
But once you start to see them, you realize they happen all the time.
That is wild.
Yeah.
So we've got the complementary, the crossed, and these ulterior transactions with their hidden agendas. Is that all there is to it?
Well, not quite.
Okay.
Byrne also identified these recurring patterns of transactions that he called games.
Oh, interesting.
They're like scripts that people act out over and over again.
Hmm.
And the outcomes are usually predictable and often negative, unfortunately.
Games people play.
What are some examples of these games?
One classic one is called Yes, But.
Oh, okay.
You know that person who's always asking for advice, but then sheets down every suggestion you give them? Oh, yeah, I know exactly what you mean. That's so frustrating.
It is.
Why do people do that?
Well, it might seem like they're coming from their adult state, like they actually want solutions.
Right.
But often, there's a deeper child need driving their behavior.
So it's not really about finding a solution, it's about something else, maybe feeling in control or being right.
Exactly. Maybe they need to feel validated
Hmm.
or prove that they're helpless or even just get attention.
Hmm.
And the sad thing is, these games, they often just reinforce negative beliefs,
Yeah, makes sense.
about themselves, about other people. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
So it's like we're not just engaging in these one-off transactions. We're often caught up in these like bigger patterns, these games that keep playing out.
Yeah.
And it's not always pretty.
Right.
But Bernie, he doesn't just leave us hanging, right? Like stuck in these games forever.
No, not at all. He believed that by becoming aware of these patterns, we can actually start to change them.
Okay.
We can step out of those roles we usually play and create healthier, more fulfilling interactions. But to do that, we need to understand another key concept, the life script.
Okay, I'm listening. What's a life script? And how do we rewrite it?
Think of your life script as a set of unconscious beliefs and expectations, about yourself, about other people, about the world.
Okay.
It's like the blueprint that we develop early on in life, based on our experiences, the messages we got from our environment, all that.
So it's like a story we tell ourselves about who we are and what our life's going to be like. In this story, we're writing it before we even know what's happening.
Right, and often it includes beliefs about whether we're worthy, our capabilities, whether we deserve to be happy, all of that. It shapes our expectations of how others will treat us too.
Yeah.
If they can be trusted, if they'll support us, or they'll just end up hurting us. These beliefs, they're running the show behind the scenes, influencing our choices and our interactions in a big way.
So we're all carrying around these unconscious scripts
Yeah.
that are shaping how we interact with the world and the games we play.
Right.
I'm starting to see how all these pieces fit together. But if these scripts are unconscious, how do we even know what they are?
That's where it gets really fascinating.
Okay.
Byrne believed that by paying close attention to our behavior patterns, the games we play, the types of strokes we seek out, all of that, we could start to uncover those underlying beliefs.
Okay.
And actually, rewrite our scripts to create better outcomes.
Rewrite the script. I like it.
Yeah.
So those strokes, the units of attention and recognition,
Yes.
how did they play into all of this?
Our early experiences with strokes, both positive and negative, they really shape our beliefs about ourselves, about our place in the world.
Yeah.
Like if you didn't get enough positive strokes growing up,
Okay.
you might develop a script that says, I'm not worthy of love, or I have to work really hard to get any attention at all.
And then we might unconsciously seek out those negative strokes, even if they make us feel bad.
Yeah.
Because it's what we're used to.
Exactly. It's familiar.
Wow, that's powerful.
It is.
And those beliefs, they lead us to play games that just confirm those scripts.
Right, like the yes, but game.
Mm-hmm.
The person playing that game, they might be trying to prove their belief that they're helpless or unworthy of help.
Wow, this is making me think about my own patterns.
Yeah.
And the scripts I might be carrying around without even realizing it.
It's eye-opening, isn't it?
It is. So if we can become aware of these scripts, does that mean we can change them?
Absolutely. That's the beauty of it.
Okay.
But how do we actually do that?
Yeah. Oh.
Well, one important thing is to start paying attention to the kinds of strokes we're seeking
Okay.
and the games we're playing. Once we see those patterns, we can start making different choices.
Okay.
We could look for more positive strokes and engage in interactions that support a healthier, more empowered view of ourselves.
This is giving me a lot to think about.
Yeah.
I have a feeling we're just scratching the surface here, Rayleigh.
Right.
There's got to be more to this story,
Yeah.
more to understanding how we can break free from those unhealthy patterns and really rewrite our scripts.
There is. In the last part of our deep dive, we'll get into the practical tools and techniques that TA offers
Okay.
for personal growth and transformation.
Hmm.
We'll talk about how to move from those negative reactive patterns
Okay.
to more positive, fulfilling ways of interacting with ourselves and the world around us.
Can't wait. All right, we're back. And wow, my mind is officially blown.
Lots to process, huh?
Yeah. ego states, transactions, games, scripts, strokes. We covered a lot of ground.
We did.
But the big question is, how do we actually use all this amazing TA knowledge to actually make positive changes in our life?
Yeah, that's where the real power of TA lies.
Okay.
It's not just about analyzing.
Right.
It's about actually empowering ourselves to create healthier, more fulfilling relationships with ourselves and others.
So it's like, okay, we've got this incredible map, but now we need to figure out how to navigate the terrain
Exactly.
to put it into practice.
Right. And one of the most important things to remember is that TA, it really emphasizes personal responsibility.
Oh,
Bernie believed that we're not just, puppets of our past or those unconscious scripts we talked about. We can become aware of those patterns and choose something different.
so we're not stuck.
No.
We can actually rewrite our stories.
You got it.
I love that. But those scripts, sometimes they feel so, ingrained,
Yeah.
Where do we even begin to rewrite them?
Well, one really powerful way is through consciously giving and receiving positive strokes.
Okay.
Remember those units of attention and recognition
Right.
that make us feel seen and valued.
So instead of playing those games that get us those negative strokes, even though they feel familiar,
Yeah.
we can choose interactions that nourish us
Yeah.
and those around us.
It's about surrounding yourself with people who genuinely support you,
Okay.
who appreciate you, who give you those positive strokes
Yeah.
that affirm your worth.
Yeah.
And it's also about learning to give yourself those positive strokes.
Mm.
You don't have to wait for someone else to validate you.
Right.
You can celebrate your own accomplishments,
Oh, yeah.
acknowledge your strengths, practice self-compassion.
Yeah, that's so important. Sometimes our inner critic is our, worst enemy.
It can be brutal.
So we can learn to be nicer to ourselves, be our own cheerleaders.
Absolutely. It's about recognizing your inherent worth and treating yourself with the same kindness and understanding you would offer a good friend.
But, let's be real. Sometimes those negative patterns, those games, they feel so deeply ingrained.
They do.
It can be really hard to break free.
It is.
Any advice on how to interrupt those old patterns?
Oh, for sure.
When they pop up?
Awareness is the first step.
Okay.
Once you see those patterns playing out, you can start to disrupt them. Byrne actually talked about this idea called the drama triangle.
Okay.
Those roles.
Yeah.
Victim, persecutor, and rescuer.
Oh, the drama triangle.
Yeah.
I know that one.
It's exhausting.
It is.
It's like a never-ending soap opera of blame and guilt and just drama.
Right.
But Byrne, he offered a really powerful alternative. The winner's triangle.
Okay, the winner's triangle sounds much better.
Much better.
Tell me more.
So instead of playing the victim, where you feel helpless and you blame everyone else for your problems,
Right.
you step into your vulnerable self. That means acknowledging your feelings and your needs without blaming or attacking others.
So it's about owning our experience, but not making someone else responsible for it?
Exactly. And instead of being the persecutor, where you're blaming and criticizing,
Right.
you become more assertive.
Okay.
You stand up for yourself. You express your boundaries clearly, respectfully.
So it's about communicating our needs directly without, getting aggressive or manipulative.
Exactly. And finally, instead of constantly playing the rescuer,
Oh, yeah.
where you try to fix everyone's problem.
Right, and end up feeling resentful.
Exactly. You can become more caring.
Okay.
That means offering support without, taking on other people's responsibilities or trying to control their outcomes.
It's a big shift.
It is. The winner's triangle, it's about moving from those reactive, unhealthy patterns
Right.
to a place of responsibility, empathy, genuine connection. It's about showing up authentically in your relationships.
This is a whole new way of looking at things.
It can be.
Yeah, it's amazing. And it's a process, right?
Oh, yeah.
We're not going to get it perfect all the time.
Definitely not. It's a journey.
Yeah.
We're all going to slip back into those old patterns sometimes. That's part of being human.
Right. Right.
But the more aware we are, the more we practice.
Okay.
The quicker we can catch ourselves, make different choices, and create those healthier, more fulfilling interactions we're talking about.
This has been such an incredible deep dive into transactional analysis. I feel like, I don't know, I have a new language to understand these complex dynamics
You do.
that are happening all the time.
Yeah, and remember, the real power of TA is in using it. It's not just about understanding the concepts.
Right.
It's about actually putting them into practice.
So any key takeaways that we want our listeners to remember?
Well, First, remember that you have the power to become aware of your own ego states,
Oh.
those different parts of yourself that influence how you communicate. Pay attention to which one you're operating from in different situations.
And once we're aware of our own ego states, we can start to see the patterns in our interactions.
Right.
We can spot those cross transactions, the ulterior motives, the games people play.
Exactly.
Maybe even notice if we're playing those games ourselves.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah. And most importantly, remember that you are not your script.
Right.
You can challenge those limiting beliefs, rewrite your story, choose interactions that nourish you, and create more fulfilling relationships.
That's it.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the fascinating world of transactional analysis, I want to leave you with a question. What patterns are you noticing in your own life? How can you use this knowledge to communicate more effectively, build stronger relationships, and create a more empowered and authentic life? Keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.
Thank you for listening. We really appreciate you spending your time with us. Your support helps this podcast grow and keeps us motivated to bring you meaningful conversations. If you enjoyed the episode, don't forget to leave a review, share it with a friend, or give us a thumbs up. Thanks for being part of our journey, and we'll see you next time.